Oh, okay. Thank God she is here. Oh, the world just like people just go into a panic. They're like, "Where's Allie? Where's Allie? The great Allie Krug is back."
Yeah,
How
because
you
if
doing,
I'm
bud?
not on camera with you, then I'm out causing mischief somewhere, right?
Yes, yeah, doing push-ups in the parking lot or whatever.
Right.
No question. That's good. I like that stuff. All right. So just again, in case people do not know who Allie Krug is, very good friend of mine. Her husband serves in the Navy in the nuclear division. I guess I saw. How do I say that properly? Nuclear
I
ships.
know, right?
Yeah,
He works in nuclear reactor safety.
nuclear actor safety. Very cool. So again, thank you for service. We've met through
Thank
Bob
you.
Pizzini, another friend of mine that served in the Navy. He was awarded the Bronze Star, I believe. Great guy. He's got his leadership camps and everything. He introduced me to Allie, and now I'm stuck with her. I can't get rid of her. And she has a company called ABC Medical Writing. Is her company. Man, I've got like 4 weeks in a row now. I've got that down pat.
You have. I picked it so it'd be easy, but now I'm thinking I should just, change
No,
it. You gotta go even easier.
It's good. It is very easy. It's excellent. Good. How are your sons doing?
They're doing great, Tom. Thank you very much. They're doing good. So little bit of kayaking, little stand-up paddleboarding we were talking about over the holiday weekend.
Right.
So that was fun. It's great to see them outside.
How is it? You big on the fireworks?
To be honest with you, I have a little trepidation about fireworks, doing it myself, because I love fire, but fireworks are explosives. And so to be honest with you, I'm one of those parents and we are one of those couples we have some rules in our family about trampolines. Right. And we also don't tend to set off our own fireworks. So think of me what you like, but we just don't tend to do that because
I don't think we should. There's a lot of people get hurt with that, especially when it's in a town. You can go to a town fireworks where professionals do it. I agree totally. Kids doing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really tempting when you see neighbors setting them off. And when we lived in Hawaii, to be honest with you, it was unbelievable. It was incredible. Chinese New Year would go 12 hours long. If you have noise sensitivity and you live in Hawaii, you're in big trouble.
Oh, really?
Same with any sort of lung conditions, because we literally had to close all the windows in our tiny home and turn the air conditioner on. Usually in Hawaii, you have the windows open, doors are open, the breezes are just, the trade winds are amazing, but Chinese New Year, no, you've got to shut down. My dog hid for a day. So
you were talking about rules for a trampoline. What are the rules? Just can't use a trampoline?
No, my rules for trampolines are informed by epidemiology, because that's what I am, epidemiologist. And that means I love to study data and I love to understand risk factors. Love, love, love it. Understanding risk factors helps you decide, okay, is this a sensible thing to do or not? And if not, for whom? Is it more sensible for some than for others? I mean, you can just kind of carve up your risks a little bit and take some on and not take it. So my rules are informed by studying trampoline injuries. And basically they happen when more than one kid is on the trampoline at a time. And that's even with the safeguards that have been introduced, which are great. Like that's nets around the outside and extra padding and all of that. So you're not bouncing off and onto the ground. But generally speaking, if you watch kids on a trampoline, it's like you can see near head collisions just happening. Like you just clench your teeth. But I know all these parents who have trampolines in their backyard and they're always a great attraction and the kids always have a good time. And I always feel like I'm that mom who's worrying about the thing that will never happen. So I recognize that's a super unpopular position to have, but that has been our family rule. I have to say that, our kids have never gotten seriously injured in hockey in a combined, I think it's 13 years now of playing, because of protective gear on their heads. Same with biking. But on trampolines, you generally don't have any protective gear at all in the games that you can play on them. You could expose your soft inner underbelly, to somebody landing on top of you.
Yeah, so, that's true. I never thought about that. Well, the reason I asked too is my youngest son, he's 28 now, so I'm guessing it's 15 years ago. We had a boat at the time and we bought a trampoline that went on the water. So it's an inflatable tube and obviously you jump up and down. So it's pretty cool, right? You could jump off it. So it was Memorial Day weekend, I think it was, but it was all rainy. So I had the tube at our house and I had it out in the front yard. And, all the adults are having a beer and having a barbecue and all this kind of kids are outside playing, having fun. And all of a sudden, I got a knock on the door. I didn't realize they were taking the trampoline and lifting it up on its side. And it was probably about 20 feet wide. And my youngest son is holding on to the edge that went up in the air and let go and landed on his arm and dislocated his elbow. So the elbow went back the other way.
Oh,
and I know. He came and knocked on the door. He was like, he's polite. Like this is our place. He knocks on the door. I see him standing there and oh man. It was amazing as a parent, though. Like, I'm sure you're like this too. Immediately you clicked in. Okay, I've got to get him to the hospital. So I was totally under control. He was laying in the back seat, asking me if his arm was going to fall off, and I'm like, oh god. And so got him to the hospital. And he's pretty funny. He's going to get his sense of humor. So we got him in the hospital. Once I got him to the nurses, then I broke down. I started crying. Like, I guess I just felt like, okay, now he's fine. You know, and I guess I was feeling guilty that I let him play on the trampoline and all that stuff. And here he is in pain, and he starts going, hoo, hoo, hoo. He's making fun of me that I was crying. he was very funny.
What a great kid.
Oh yeah, it was good. And then he's still like this today. If somebody gave you drugs that would knock you out cold, he's resistant to it.
Mm-hmm.
They kept giving him the drugs so he can knock him out, so they could pull the arm back into place.
Yeah.
And finally they told me, Tom, you got to leave, because I guess the parent was worried about the pain and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And they did it, and he was fine. And then, but he was so drugged up at that point, he was going, I could have done it myself. You know, like he's Mr. Tough Guy and everything. So
how old was he then?
Oh, so must have been 8, 9, 10 years old in that range.
Pretty young.
Mm. Yeah. Oh, that's Saito when he came to the door. But you're right. Really... You know what? Listen, you can't. I agree with you totally. The advantage with you is when you make a decision like that, you researched it. It isn't just your gut feeling. You really researched the data.
I do try to check my gut, because, you know, your gut's not always 100%. Or, well, we understand about humans that we tend to magnify some risks and we tend to minimize other risks, and we have biases, right? So I always do try to go back and be like, is this really something I should make a rule about? Especially as your kids get older and they push back on the rules, you have to go back and revisit them and check to see if there's new data and try to explain it. So, and then when you have an older son who's really interested in math and physics, which happened to us when we were explaining the rules once again, older son Sam came into the conversation, was talking about vectors and weight, and, you know, how when you add gravity and mass falling and one child lands on top of another on top of the trampoline, it actually magnifies the pressure, the force. So I'm doing a bad job of this because physics is not my specialty, but Sam came in and was like, you know, this is what happens. You've got 2 or 3 times the force vectors. I'm like, oh, okay, interesting.
Very cool.
So,
yeah, it is a trade-off though, right? You want your kids to experience things and have fun in life and not be scared, not be afraid to try things. But yeah, when your job is to protect your kids too, right? So it is a fun
that's the thing. I mean, the trade-offs, right? Like, so if your kid is a hockey player and they have a select team tournament, national tournament coming up, and they want to jump on the trampoline, I'm like, great, jump on the trampoline, but let's just do it by yourself and not with others at the same time. Yeah. And certainly always have an adult watching. And the other big injury and accident cause is drowning. So worth mentioning, as pools are opening right now and it's really, really hot. Yeah. So what can happen is adults get together and there's 12 adults around a pool and they're having beers and they're having a great time, and everybody thinks somebody's watching. Yeah. And what happens is nobody's really watching all that carefully. Yeah. So you really, if you're having a party, hire a lifeguard. If you can get all the parents to pitch in for 2 hours of lifeguard, you know, it might be a couple bucks each, or just, you know, stand the watch and have 2 or 3 parents who are not going to drink a thing, and that's what they're going to do. They're going to watch.
And there's a lot of stuff out there too, like alarms on doors, the doors that may lead from the house out to the pool, alarms to go in the water. So if it's still water still, and then goes off, all that kind of stuff. And but like, listen, we all are the same, right? We all think, nothing's going to happen. But there is drownings, right? Like you said, it does.
I mean, you know, but I don't want to over dramatize risk. I mean, risk is part of what makes life interesting. And for some of us, we need a little bit of risk to keep our lives. Yeah. I don't know how to say it exactly. That doesn't sound odd, but I do need a little bit of risk taking in my life to make it interesting, you know. So if I have to outrun a bug that's swarming and I'm screaming in the woods for a few minutes, and I run faster than I ever have before on a trail and across routes, and I feel like a superhero, you know, it was worth running at dusk in the woods. Or I was out actually stand-up paddling down the canal because I just had to get outside, but it was dusk. So I went, what is the worst thing that's going to happen? I fall into a canal that has some water moccasins in it, and you know, or I get dive bombed by a bat. You know, hopefully nothing terrible happens, other than I have an interesting story for you on Tuesday. Okay. Right? So like I do take risks. I do things that maybe not so smart.
You got to get out of your comfort zone, right? If you keep staying in your comfort zone all the time, it's harder to. It's not that you never will, but it's harder to accomplish things. Well, speaking of that, the heat and everything too. You sent me a picture the other day of your son exercising out in the heat. You know, he had the red face and everything. And I guess we'll discuss this, but like we talked about before the show, I remember growing up, we were always outside. It was all heat, and we're always hot, and you know, you get even more tired because it's hot. You know, they can lay down afterwards, all that kind of stuff. And now it seems that, and obviously there have been some deaths. I mean, football players out training in the heat. So I mean, somebody's dying. You really got to think about, okay, do we allow this or not? But it's one of those things. Well, first of all, we'll discuss the heat and exercising, but also are we now getting overly cautious about everything we're doing? Kind of leading into the same stuff we're talking about now. But so what, heat and exercise?
Well, your second question first, are we getting more cautious about everything? Maybe so. Maybe we're more informed than we ever were. Information spreads, like wildfire right now. So, and I shouldn't say that in the context of the West Coast and heat and, seasonal fires. So God bless everybody out there. But information travels very, very fast. And hopefully we are becoming more informed and making good decisions. But yes, exercise and heat can be tricky. We actually worked out in Japan under the guidance of the ice hockey team there throughout the summer, throughout the Black Flag days, which are days when it's over 90 degrees. You add humidity to that and you get a heat index that's pretty decent. Humidity is a real challenge for your body to evaporate sweat, which is how you cool. So if the air is wet and your body's wet, then you have less of an evaporation gradient to utilize. So you don't actually cool off as well. So when it's really, really hot, that's when you feel like you're just drowning. But when it's dry out, you can lose a lot of water. And so you need to replenish water as well. So it's important that you be careful. It's important to try to find shade. It's important to pay attention to the signs of heat exhaustion, headache, nausea, increasing heart rate, feeling lightheaded, and that kind of thing. When we were working out with the Japanese ice hockey team for Dryland, we did have kids go into the restroom and not feel well. So that would be a sign as well. And they started to change what time of day they were working out. We started to go into the evening and go under cover under a huge parking lot so that they actually had shade. And the mothers also brought a cooler full of ice cubes and cold water and some little towels so that the kids could put them around their necks or on their head, because that will help. You have a lot of circulation in that skin there. So that's like your natural air conditioner.
Right.
So there are some things you can do to modify that. And yes, that picture I sent you of Ben out exercising, both of us were actually doing that workout. We were kind of thinking, this might not be the smartest thing in the world, but we wanted to get it over with too. And so we had like a tremendous motivation because I was going to make him a banana smoothie.
Nice.
So using the Laidlaw recipe, only I didn't leave all the skins on. I kind of crept into the skin situation.
So did you notice the skin was in there once you blended it up?
Not really. It was a little bit darker.
Yeah, color-wise. Because they say it's like 30% more nutrients if you leave the more fiber and all that. Yeah.
You can't really tell, and more fiber. So I'll get braver and braver and put more in there. But what I did that was not too smart is I took the 3 bananas. I love frozen bananas for smoothies. Yeah. Just better consistency. So I took all 3 bananas in their skins and put them in the freezer. Right. When I took them out, the skins were really brown.
Yes.
So I figured I needed to just thaw the banana. So I left the banana to thaw on the counter and didn't realize that was stupid, because what you then have very quickly is like gel inside the skin. Yeah.
So I go kind of halfway. So if I take it out, if I'm in a rush, I'll put it in the microwave for 20 seconds or whatever it is, just to thaw it out a little bit. So it's because you beat up your blender if you throw it like a rock going in the blender. Yeah, right. I actually bought a blender and I broke the casing, whatever it is. I had to order another one. But yeah, it is. Oh man, it is good, right? It's cold and everything. You don't have to put ice in, like banana becomes ice. Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah, we actually we do a little bit different than you. I use Honey Nut Cheerios, so it has that kind of a little bit of a kind of protein powdery sort of flavor. Honey, milk, bananas, ice, and peanut butter.
Okay, I would recommend the almond butter.
Oh yes, we'll do that.
And you put Honey Nut Cheerios in there?
Yeah. Because when you go to like a smoothie bar, do you want protein powder, and you say, well, sure, whatever. But it has that like little powdery sort of taste that you get hooked on initially. So
why not just put protein powder in?
I don't really think I want my kids to have that much protein.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's a challenge that much. I mean, I don't actually use recipes. I just throw things in. So I wouldn't actually want to challenge the kidneys to process that much protein. But I don't know. So
do they get a lot of protein in the normal diets?
They're meat eaters, so yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so
I think they get enough.
Yeah. You wonder sometimes how much protein you need. Yeah, I think I've told you I put all my calories and everything into an app, my FitPal app. Yeah. And then as the macro shows you how much protein, fat, carbs you get. Yeah, I may get a little carried away sometimes. I love it gives you a little pie chart. The green is the protein part, Like I like getting the green, like a big. It's not supposed to be, right? Like the guide is 30. I think it's like 25 or 30% of your calories should come from protein in your
I think
diet.
so. That sounds right. But I mean, if you're building muscle, then you do need protein. You shouldn't skimp on it. You have to find ways. Even if you're a vegetarian, you can get protein. But I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. Did you ever see that documentary on Netflix talking about? Can't remember what it's called. They're basically making the case that you don't need to eat meat at all. That you can get all the protein you need from vegetables. They call it like just cutting out the middleman. They're saying that the cows eat the protein from the vegetables they get, and then you're eating the cow. Well, just cut out the middleman. Don't eat the cow.
Right. Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah.
We don't eat a ton of meat. I don't at least eat a ton of meat, but we definitely have turkey and ham and roast beef and things for sandwiches and things like that. So
it's the red meat that really try to limit, right? I mean, you still have it, just not have it so often.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned something before about hydrating, and when we were kids, they still do this. They used to give out orange slices all the time. It was a big thing. I'll never forget. Would there be a reason why orange slices?
Well, I think that's for blood sugar too.
Oh, yeah.
Because your brain needs blood sugar, and I think when you're exercising, you're losing electrolytes, and that's just a really quick way to boost your blood sugar a little bit.
Right.
Orange juice.
Right. Yeah. So like exercising in the heat. So obviously, I want to say this delicately. So somebody that's overweight or out of shape, that should not be the time to start exercising in the heat, correct?
Well, the reason you and I started talking about this, and I happened to see some news reports too over the weekend, with like ERs being a little bit busier with people, possibly heat exhaustion, possible other stuff going on. I think we've got a constellation of factors this year. We've got tremendous heat over the last week, right? We have people getting back into exercise and, maybe making some changes to their lifestyle post-pandemic, wanting to get in better shape. Maybe they were inside more and weren't working out, weren't going to gyms, and maybe rekindling an exercise routine, and it's hot out. So we might have an opportunity here to just kind of think about, okay, just revisit what kind of overall shape are you in? Are you a little bit heavier than you were? Are you a little bit less good shape than you were? Are you potentially not hydrating as well as you could be? And so just like go back into things with some intention. Certainly, if you're a little out of shape and have put on a few pounds, the best thing you can possibly do is get out and start moving. But that doesn't mean you have to start running intervals with the noonday sun right overhead like we did last week. That you don't need to do that.
But you did.
We did, because we wanted to get it over with. So Ben and I are very motivated by rewards, and the reward was the smoothie. So,
well, and you bring up a good point too that I think is really important. If somebody is overweight and says, I don't want to get out and run. Well, I still think you can burn as many calories by walking as you can by running, and therefore lose the fat. It's just, in fact, maybe you shouldn't be running. Bad knees and all kinds of stuff. But get out there and move. It's so nice out too. Get some place where you have like some scenery or whatever and walk.
And actually, while the boys were doing dry land last week for hockey, I was just in the grass, just doing stuff that I could do in place. Burpees and push-ups and plank and things like that. There are so many things you can do with your own body weight. I was actually decently sore the next day, and I didn't even really realize that I was working out because there were huge dragonflies wanting to carry me off. So that was interesting. I was listening to Japanese at the time. That was also interesting. I was focusing on language, and I was watching the kids work out. The next day I was like, oh, that's great. I got sore and didn't realize I was on my way to
nice. There's a multitasker there. That's good.
Really distract yourself.
Well, it's funny where I go for my march in the morning too, is Todd's Point in Greenwich. Like a lot of places, they've got these rocks, as used as barriers and all this kind of stuff. And it was earlier on. It was pretty early in the pandemic, and I was there, and I was getting the rocks, and I was doing like military presses, and I was doing the toss and all that kind of stuff. And these people are walking by, and I know the guy that works the front gate there. They were going to the guy at the gate, and they're going, "There's a crazy man out there throwing rocks around." Like, it's not. It's the same thing as you when you're working out outside. It's like people looking and go, "What is going on?" Oh.
Well, when they look at you, they probably don't think you're crazy because it's obvious what you're doing. You're well muscled. If they look at me, they might very well think she's crazy. I don't really see much benefit in what she's doing.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Did we touch on fireworks on air? No, we didn't. Right?
I don't think we did, except that our family doesn't light them off ourselves.
That's right. Yes, we did. And I think that's why, I don't know. I guess it's a fun thing to do, and I guess it depends on what the fireworks are. Like there's little sparklers and all that kinds of stuff.
Right.
But there's so many stories about people getting hurt with the fireworks that they never do it. The professionals that laugh the fireworks, they do it all the time. So I'm with you.
We were actually talking about the tragic passing of Mattis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw his face and his image, and read the story about that, and that's what brought that to mind because he's 24 and was just enjoying a weekend, and then suddenly a mishap with the firework, and so
so anybody's unaware, that's Allie's talking about the goaltender, young goaltender that is Columbus's property. It's back home in Russia, I believe, and fell down. Yeah.
Oh, was he back home in Russia? Okay.
I'm pretty sure he was. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's hard. I mean, you can't prevent every risk, but there are some that, it must be hard for parents to think about, gosh, I should make sure my kids know about this and this and this. I mean, we have the fortune of being around our kids quite a lot and have a chance to talk about driving and just, when you cross an intersection, your light turns green, you start to cross an intersection, you still have to kind of be aware of what's happening on either side because somebody might be running at red. So it's just every time you have a chance to be with your kids and you have a chance to talk through scenarios or risk avoidance or how you make decisions, I think parents have a real opportunity to just share what they've learned,
Yeah, you're right. Like it's like saying, listen, just don't take things for granted, right? Like just don't assume that the other person is going to do the right thing. Doesn't mean you have to be paranoid, like when you're driving down the road or anything, but just be aware if you're driving on a highway and a big truck is there, just don't assume that the truck driver he might be tired or whatever, and make a mistake, So I agree. That's important.
Yeah, actually, I was driving in Japan one time, and so many long drives to hockey games, and we have very old car, and so when. This is well ahead of winter, but when you go back into winter, I guess, if you have an exhaust system that's not doing so well, do check that, because I actually had carbon monoxide coming into the car and didn't know it. And I was battling to get home awake. And so you don't really think about that because your windows are closed, you got the heat on, right? So it was just such an old and reliable car. I had no idea that something was amiss.
I know what I wanted to ask you. Mold in your home. I mean, it's a whole different subject, but a friend of mine.
We cover the ground, don't we?
A friend of mine has an apartment, and she has gotten really sick, and she traveled a lot in the past, and she's been home a lot recently, and she'd had a problem with leaking in her apartment, and it really never got. I'm assuming that sheetrock got wet, never really got replaced. So how does mold affect you if you're in an apartment with the windows closed all the time? What's the symptoms of that?
I don't know offhand what the symptoms would be, but I would imagine allergy-like symptoms and coughing or shortness of breath or things of that nature. But I would have to research that a little bit more.
Because she's got pretty sick, like almost like flu-like symptoms.
Really?
And she's gone to the doctor, and they really couldn't. She'd probably hate me saying this, but her lips swelled up too. She probably doesn't want me to announce that to the world, but
yeah, I don't think you used a name, so.
Yes, I did not use the name. That's right. Yes. Yeah. That's funny. She'll be really happy I told everybody. Yes.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's hard. There's so many different things, but just some basic stuff like, airing your home out every now and then, opening windows, getting outside, and checking in with, if you have a primary care doctor, check in every now and then. I just realized that I have not brought my boys in for a checkup since we moved from Japan to here. So it's just time. It's time to do that. Kind of like we were talking about getting back into exercise routines. It's time to just kind of check on your whole state of health and think about vaccines you might be missing if, you have young kids, or, consider maybe getting some blood work done to see where your cholesterol levels are, if that's something that you were tracking. Hypertension. I just worked on a paper for some doctors last week who were helping patients manage their own high blood pressure by allowing them to take their own pressure readings at home and then integrating them with their medical records. So there's so many things that people can do now to manage their own health and keep track of their own health that we're really empowered to make some good choices if we have the right information.
Isn't that true? That's so true. Even since you and I started doing this show, you made me realize that I can do more research on my own about everything, and find out what foods are healthy for me, or am I eating the right stuff? I understand what trans fats are versus saturated fats, and all what's good for you, what's not, and what foods have those fats in it. Like probably like a lot of people just eat, before, and then once you start studying, you realize, well, that's not too good for me, right?
Right. Yeah. I actually have done a really good job of giving up Reese's Puffs. I used to eat those straight out of the box with my fist right in the cereal box.
Reese's Puffs. What are they? Are
they like sugar cereal, kids' sugar cereal?
Oh, okay. All right. Good. Oh, I used to be really big on the Chips Ahoy cookies. Now I could get a sleeve of those cookies in a glass of milk and dip it in the milk. Oh God, terrible, awful.
Yeah, that's hard. But I mean, it doesn't mean that you have to give up on everything. That's right. You just think about trade-offs.
But
So
now I notice since I've cleaned up my diet, when I go to have, I was telling a story the other day. I went to get the oil change in my car, and right beside the place was one of those old greasy diners, So I said, God, it's morning, and I've been fasting pretty much every day for the last like 6 months. So I thought, you know what, I'll break the fast. I'll go have some eggs, some bacon, some toast, some hash browns. It's a greasy place, right? So it's greasy.
yeah.
I felt terrible after it was done. Like it's like, man, I guess I've been eating so clean all the time that when I put some greasy stuff in me, it was nasty. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I actually almost worry about eating sometime because if I wake up and I've been fasting during the night, right, and I have coffee, I'm really alert. Maybe I actually got enough sleep the night before, which is great. I'm working on that. So my watch told me the other day, actually, that I only got 4 hours of sleep. So I'm like, oh, no wonder I felt so tired. So I'm working on getting more sleep. I think it's really important to mental health, everything. All systems need good sleep. Maybe 7 hours, I think, would be a minimum. But when you do that, when you're just feeling prime, and then you have something pretty heavy to eat, my blood sugar just crashes, and I just feel like I need to. Well, I guess I should say it peaks and then crashes pretty immediately. And I just don't really feel like I'm as alert as I was. So I almost dread eating unless I know I have good food teed up for the first meal.
So here's the thing now that you made that statement, and I'm not being critical or disagreeing with you at all, but the sleep, for example, and I agree with you, the science all shows that you should have the 7 or 8 hours of sleep, but I typically get 5 hours. And I almost feel like sometimes when we start telling people that you're not as alert today because you didn't get enough sleep, then it's almost like you're announcing to them that they're not going to be alert instead of just saying, okay, I didn't get enough sleep. Let's just get after it. Right.
I know that you're motivated by, the times when you feel like perhaps you'll have to be just that much more intentional about your workout. Just like, and I think that's a really great thing that you do, which may be informed by your experience as a professional athlete. Right. Yeah. You can't ever just say, oh, well, I had a bad day or I didn't sleep enough or whatever. I mean, you really have to perform no matter what.
Yes.
And so I think you bring that to your consciousness in a way that many of us don't. You don't give yourself any excuses.
Yeah.
So, but I do think that proper sleep is really, really important, especially in America when we're talking about the mental health crisis created by restrictions and people having to completely change their lives in many ways for months and months. Right. Getting enough sleep if you possibly can, even if things are interesting on your phone, you like reading in bed on your phone before you go to sleep, just start a half hour earlier. Give yourself that half hour wind down time to read. That's fine. That's not the issue. Maybe use the nightlight setting on your phone to dim it down a little bit, but give yourself a little bit more time to sleep. And it's really remarkable the difference it can make the next day.
Yeah, especially if all you're doing is staying up and watching TV or reading off your phone or something like that. Yeah, go to sleep and then get up earlier in the morning, get stuff done. Yeah.
Right. Or get up earlier and jump on, if you happen to have a stationary bike at home or a treadmill that you haven't been using too much, jump on and use that for your social media time. Yeah. While you're working out, just figure out a way to do both at once.
Yeah. Oh, on my Sunday meal, I barbecued up some chicken. I made up my own little barbecue sauce and everything. And then I put, I'd really gotten away from eating regular potatoes because I thought, they're all fatty and all that kind of stuff. But I think it was more, I was concerned about putting the sour cream and butter on. And now I got my air fryer. I just make them up into French fries and throw them in there. So I had some French fries and I grilled my corn on the grill. I've never done that before. Oh, yeah. Out of the husk and grill. That's very good. It was tasty.
Yeah. Yeah, that is good. I like that. Yeah, that's a good thing, Tom, that you're doing is finding ways to enjoy creating good food at home and sharing that with people who follow you.
Because isn't that true? A lot of people feel like if they're going to eat healthy food, it's not going to taste good, which just isn't true at all. There's so many ways to make healthy food still taste good. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you actually, when you make it yourself, you maybe don't devour it as quickly. Maybe you appreciate it, or maybe not.
Yeah. I made the shrimp pizza a couple weeks ago. Oh, I'd never had shrimp on pizza, and I was so surprised. It was unbelievable. I was like, oh, wow, it's good.
I can't wait for you to come visit this family. And if shrimp land on the table, my husband is such a great cook. If he boils up some shrimp and puts them on the table, there's like a protocol for eating them. So you have a shrimp and then you go do pull-ups. Then you come back, one more shrimp. And then everyone has their shrimp allocated because some people in my house devour things much faster than others. And if we just went by time, There would be no food left for me or even for Ben. So,
Dude, are you serious? You guys really do that where you can eat and then do pull-ups? You can go back and forth?
well, for certain very high value items that are much desired by certain people in my house,
okay.
yes, we regulate the intake with a pull-up in between because we've just got to slow them down.
That's excellent. That's a fantastic idea. I love that. So you're getting exercise and getting the food tonight. Good job.
It's amazing how quickly they do pull-ups. I'm like,
Yeah.
how did you even get there and back in that amount of time?
We'd gone, this is a stupid story, but we'd gone, my two sons and I, years ago, they used to like going to those Japanese restaurants, the hibachi on birthdays. So I can't remember if it was Shane or Cody's birthday, one of the two. And we'd ordered a roll first, and the rolls have ends on them that if you get like shrimp tempura, for instance, it'll have the roll on with the tail. Nobody seems to want that. So we said, okay, we'll divide it up evenly. So I remember Cody, he goes and gets all the middle pieces and leaves the end pieces for Shane and I. And we're like, okay, yes, it's divided up evenly, but we're not going to even eat those end pieces. So we had this whole battle.
You can pull the little tail off the shrimp. Yeah. There's still shrimp in there. And you can even eat that tail. I'm fairly certain that Ben has eaten the tail. No problem.
Oh, really?
Just a little crunchier, yeah.
Yeah, I guess there's some value there. Yeah, good. All right, we've gotten off track today. We're just talking about some crazy stuff. It's all your fault, Ellie. I just can't.
Well,
again, if everybody wants to
get us next time.
Right, yeah.
Ask the grasshoppers.
Go ahead, Alex. Sorry.
Grasshoppers, if you would like us to talk about something more meaningful or more interesting, please, by all means, save Tom and I from ourselves and give us suggestions.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely true. You said that very well. All right. Again, if anybody wants to get a hold of Allie, it's ABC Medical Writing. You can get a hold of her. She's a fantastic person, fantastic mother, a little bit of a nerd, but that's in a good way.
You could have finished that sentence so many ways. I'm glad you landed with that one.
Nerd. And it's a good way. See, but like your nerd is a good nerd. Like, sometimes it's a bad term when you call somebody a nerd. In your sense, it's not a bad thing. It's good.
No, it's a compliment. It's fine.
Definitely. All right, buddy. We'll see you next week. Thanks, Allie.